We advise the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
To be a giant. This has forever been our passion, this desire to be a giant. Not to stand on one's shoulders or to have one for a friend, though these may be fortunate things, but to be one. Giants step over barriers that seem never-ending. They conquer mountains that appear insurmountable. Giants rise above fear, triumph over pain, push themselves, and inspire others to be a giant, to do giant things, to take giant steps, to move the world forward.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Philippines Uncut. I'm Buddy Cunanan. Now, on this show, we talk about everything under the sun: politics, business, travel, culture. But today, the topic is again sports. And I think it's very timely since next year is the 2012 Olympic Games in London. Now, we all know it for a fact that when major sporting events come around, we always expect the same things. Philippine athletes bringing home the least number of medals, coming in last, the usual sports malaise. And I refuse to believe that this is because Filipinos are not talented. I believe that we have one of the most talented people around, some of the most talented athletes around. And so this points to a systemic failure that is causing our athletes not to perform well. Now, in the last few weeks, we've been fortunate to have some very good resource speakers. We've had Coach Susan Papa, the medaled national athlete, former national athlete, and the president of the Philippine Swim League. We've also had Senator Ana Dominic Cositeng, she herself a swimming advocate. We've also had Mr. Goteng Kok, who is the president of PATAFA, Philippine Amateur Track and Field Association, and also president of the Philippine Karate-Do Federation, and counsel lawyer, attorney Sammy Estino, who serves as legal counsel for many national sports associations. But tonight, folks, we are very fortunate to have with us another expert in this field. She's a former national athlete, a lawyer, and very, very good experience in this topic. She's attorney Marilu Arzaga Mendoza.
Welcome.
Welcome
Hello.
to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Buddy, for this invitation. And hopefully we can talk something and straighten out everything that is some kind of a misconception by the people in the field of sports.
Yes, and that is our objective here in Philippines Uncut. We are trying to explain to the viewers, really, make them understand what exactly is wrong with Philippine sports. Something's wrong. And the problem is it's a convoluted issue. I mean, there are many agencies involved, government, quasi-government maybe, non-government organizations, and the entire system is something that needs time to be understood. And so tonight, with your help, our viewers will get a clearer understanding of what is going on.
Let me state this premise. Nothing is absolutely wrong with the athletes, of course.
Yes, ma'am.
Definitely what's wrong is on the leaders. You know, Buddy, if you see one sports or this local association, sports association, with members who are apparently dissatisfied, now perhaps it's either something is wrong with the members or the leader.
Yes.
Do you agree with me?
Absolutely.
But if you see all these national sports associations, out of 40 of them, and majority of them are having problems, now one conclusion could be drawn. What's wrong is in the leadership.
Yes.
This comes along with these three major parties or entities that have interplayed with the sports. We
Let's
have
name
the
them.
PSC.
Okay.
We have the
Philippine Sports Commission.
yes.
Okay.
We have the Philippine Olympic
Committee.
Committee
POC.
or Commission, and then we have the NSAs.
The National Sports
The National
Associations.
Sports Association.
Okay.
Now, it is very important that we are able to discern the functions of
Okay.
each one.
Okay.
And I think one of the problems drawn today is all these parties, the leaders, do not understand what their functions are. They're clueless. They do not know what they're threading on. Henceforth, what do you expect? Pandemonium, chaotic situations, which basically is just everywhere in different national sports associations, especially in swimming.
Yes, and it's good that you mentioned
Headed by the illegitimate leader, Mark Joseph,
Mr. Mark Joseph.
which he has to resign at this point of time. And I don't understand, regardless of how many people, groups, clamoring for his stepping down, the guy's still there. And who's couching on the guy? I don't know.
Well, we'll talk
I don't
about Mr.
know.
Joseph in a while.
Yes.
But it's very important that you mentioned that this is actually an educational process for our viewers, and most especially the athletes watching tonight. I want the national sports associations and the athletes and their leaders to know exactly what are their rights, what is legal, what is not legal, what is allowed in their charter, what is not allowed.
Okay.
So let's go and define first the role of the PSC.
Okay, you're right, buddy. Before we can even draw rights, duties, and obligations, we have to understand first this entity that each one represents.
Yes.
The Philippine Sports Commission, it's a government entity created by Republic Act, if I'm not mistaken, Republic Act 6847. And as such government entity, it has functions where primarily it has to give support and assistance to the different national sports associations. It gives fund via the funds that it gets from PAGCOR, from different charity sweepstakes drawing, from the proceeds of stamps where sports are.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Stamps,
yes,
huh?
it's one of
Okay.
those, yes. As well as taxes from those which would import sports equipment. All of this should be subdivided to all 40 sports associations.
And there is one sports association per sport.
That
like
is correct.
Swimming, basketball, boxing,
That
chess.
is correct.
Okay.
And each of these national sports association is affiliated with an international sports association. For example,
Swimming.
PASA. It is under the International Sports Code FINA, Federación Internacional Natación. Okay? Now, same is true with basketball and so forth and so on. Now, remember, these national sports associations are private entities.
Yes, not non-government organizations.
That is correct,
Okay.
as contradistinguished from the Philippine Sports Association, as well as Philippine Olympic Committee, which is also a private entity.
Now, we've defined what the PSC is. Let's
Yes.
define what is the POC, because some people are confused. What is PSC?
That
what
is correct.
PSC? Attorney.
Philippine Olympic Committee is
Okay.
again under the umbrella of the International Olympic Committee. It has nothing to do with anything except the so-called Olympism activities, such
Okay.
as the Olympic Games, the Asian Games, and the Southeast Asian Games. What it does is it has the right to represent the athletes on these games. It can design uniforms. It can enter into these competitions. And anything, and it can go ahead and sit down with problems like dope procedures. Those are all the functions of
the POC.
POC.
Okay.
However, there is one clause that says that they could be the final arbiter of NSAs. But I tend, the last time you had speakers, and they were saying that it should be the last arbiter for all these umbrella associations of NSAs.
Let's say if there's a conflict with the leadership, there's a question of leadership in the National Sports Association, you're saying that the POC can be an arbiter.
No, I beg to disagree with
Okay.
that.
Well, what is your
That
position?
is a misconception.
Okay.
That should not belong to that kind of problem that POC must acquire jurisdiction. What it is only those that are relating to Olympism, Olympic activities, nothing more, nothing less. In fact, buddy, this is the area of concern that I have as a lawyer. Philippine Sports Commission was created by the government. It has its visitorial, supervisory, and disciplinary powers over all the NSAs, not just because it's funded